This car is an absolute scam, and I'm going to tell you why. Just because somebody tells you to do it, you really need to think, should I do it? I mean, that's nuclear quality welding right there. Suspension is set up for road course racing. All right, well, let's take a look at that. This is where the disasters begin.
So you asked for it, whether you like it or not, you're gonna get it. We're back here at the garage shop with Aaron Brown. We're gonna learn some stuff today that could possibly save your life or someone else's. What are we doing here?
What we're gonna do here today is we got 3 cars. All 3 of them came from Bring a Trailer. And you know, if you happen to sell this car and it was yours, and if you get your feelings hurt today, I'm sorry, but you know, my business, I see a lot of people, they spend a pile of money on these cars, and then they get them, and then they're over their head, and then all of a sudden it's another 50 grand just to make the thing complete the dream. And I know there's a lot of people that's watching this that know that. I know who you are. You know, one of my pet peeves is when you read an ad and they say, oh, it's race ready. Race ready for, define that. I mean, let's define, what does race ready mean? Does that mean race ready to go make parade laps? Does it mean race ready to drive around the neighborhood and impress the kids on their bicycles? I mean, does it mean let's go be competitive at an SVRA event? You know, I just want to go over some stuff, and maybe all together, all of us can learn some more, because we can always keep learning. We're going to get that Thunderbird out. We got this 29 car that came from Bring a Trailer. We got this Sam Hornish car over there, and at the end of the video we're gonna go over my Dodge Daytona. You know, as well taken care as that car is it race ready? No, and I'm gonna tell you why. So stick around to the end, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. It's sold for $16,000. You know, is it worth that? It could be. You know, it needs a lot more work. Ford Thunderbird, you know, been built in the early 90s. Mark Stahl, 10 races after being retired. But there's key words in these ads. Said to be, or reportedly. It's either right or wrong. Don't conjecture in an ad. I mean, one of the things when you look at these cars is you want to come up in here and look down in here. Now, if you look right here, this car has been clipped, obviously, before. It's been cut right there. It's welded, had a bar put in it. I mean, the weld's back in there. I mean, it looks like bubble gum machine gun after it.
Explain what clipped means for someone who doesn't know.
This car was wrecked really hard at some point and had a whole front clip on it. It's probably had a couple front clips on it, in my opinion. I mean, the way that is not a factory weld. And it's actually even, I don't have my glasses, but the weld's actually cracked right there. You can see that right there.
When you say front clip, that's
all the suspension points. At some point this thing was bent. I'm guessing it was bent back when it did race Winston West or whatever it did back in the day, because it's still got a strut rod front clip on it, which is really, really old. And somebody had took and decided, I guess they didn't have the sway bar arms, the proper sway bar arms, or lost them or something, so they went and put this contraption on here to be able to run a standard sway bar arm. And then, you know, race ready, they put the bolts in upside down. You know, these pieces here are kind of designed that these bolts come loose, but they're still in there. The sway bar arm still has half a chance of staying on. So now if this bolt comes out, if the nut comes out, the bolt falls out the bottom onto the racetrack, and the arm comes off.
Because when you take that off, there's a groove cut in there, so the bolt gets kind of, as long as the bolt's in the hole, it can't slide out.
It has a chance.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to stay on there, but it has a whole lot better chance of being there versus not being there. I mean, obviously with the bolt gone, it's coming off. So, I mean, that's another thing we see a lot of, you know, stuff like that. And then here's another thing we see a lot of too, which I've seen it destroy a couple cars. These fender braces don't have lock nuts on them. This should be a double lock nut right here, because this will come loose, this comes out, comes back, his tire blow, right front tire or whatever, and you're junk. Some of the things they say like this, oh, it's Penske Racing shocks. And they allude to the fact that the car was road race, which makes everybody think, oh, I can go road racing, it's not a circle track anymore. That's pretty far from the truth. Does it have Penske shock absorbers on it? Absolutely. But those are like old-timey, as you can see from the rings in them, these are for coilover shocks. You put your sleeve on there, and these were like a Penske late model coilover shock. They're not a cup level, truck level, Xfinity level type Penske shock. So to me, that's kind of, is it a Penske shock? Yeah, absolutely. Is that something that you're going to take up immediately and be competitive at Indy SBRA this weekend? No, you'd be make parade laps, you know. So there's vote 1 for parade lap race ready, parade lap car. And really, this car would have, this year car never would have had Bilsteins on it anyway. If you were going to, you know, if it was like a restored car. I think it's like a cut and paste template that these people use, you know, through the website. And you know, because all the verbiage is written very, very similarly. It's almost like AI wrote it, you know. I mean, it says it has an Ernie Elliott, you know, engine. Ernie Elliott heads, I mean, I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm not an engine expert, but they usually have EEI stamped on them in the very front. And I'm not seeing that on either side. So who knows, you know, and then, you know, the way the freeze plugs are in this block as compared to the way a real NASCAR block is prepared, you know, that's not right. So, you know, so there's already some little bit of issues. I mean, these brake calipers, by today's standards, these guys that are racing these cars at any level, they're not racing that. And it's going to be a huge waste of your time if you bought this car and thought, hey, I'm going to go to Indy and I'm going to race the SVRA event at Indy. They probably, I mean, it'd be a waste of your time. It would be embarrassing, and you'd never want to do it again. Like these radiator hoses. Here's another. Like this one's not even attached. I don't even know what they got going here. I don't know. But right there, if you look at these 2 clamps,
Yeah.
that's another indication that somebody that doesn't know how to work on a race car was working on a race car. These clamps should be opposite each other, because if you try to put them both on at the same time, you squeeze them, they'll actually start leaking where the clamps are, because you pull the hose over and crimp it. So they should be opposite, and I don't even know what they got going on down there. These ridiculous things here, you know, and they go ahead and put those adjustable setup arms on them and race those. Probably not a good idea. Not with these cars as heavy as they are. I've seen that a lot of times. I've also seen them break. I've seen them come loose. Seen that destroy cars quite a few times.
Are those more intended for, you use that for mock-up to get where you want?
Then put it in the fixture, set the fixture up. I mean, that's what we used them for. I mean, I remember back in the day, you know, we'd go to Daytona or Talladega for a test, and, you know, they'd throw one of them on there, you know, run around a few laps for it, and then we'd take it off and mark it, put some notes on it, and if it's what they wanted, we'd go back to the shop and build one. I mean, this line right here, 23.90, like 99. So that line is 25 years old. Buy the car, you go get the engine refresher, you're gonna hook all this junk back up to it, not knowing what's been through it, rust, metal, how many times the engine's been blown up in this thing. I mean, the cool thing about this car is it still has the mechanical clutch right there, which quite a few people don't know how to make them work. That was actually one of my jobs when I worked at the 7 car at the racetrack, was to set that mechanical clutch, and it's quite the art to get it just right for the entire race. But these headers, you know, it's good. This car's got a little honeypot of really neat old parts. These headers, you know, were made for that, you know, for this arm, which is kind of cool. Isn't
Mark Stahl from the Stahl Headers family?
I think so. I don't know.
That would explain why he got nice headers.
I mean, it's a neat piece, you know. It's a pretty neat piece. Those are like really hard to find, and if you need them, it's very frustrating. I mean, that's cool. It's still got the, you know, the old style Modine oil cooler on it. Really hard to find those. So I mean, in all reality, if you were restoring a really nice car, this car's got a lot of really cool period correct parts on it that I wouldn't race today, but if you were restoring something, I mean, I'd strip this, I'd use this for parts. You know, and then we come here to the inside. The insides are always, to me, the most impressive, because this is where the disasters begin. And if we can, you know, look down through here, I mean, we got the seat mounted, you know, through all this cheesy stuff, this slotted bracket, you know, down there, bolt sticking out. They got that. Go down in here.
That bracket's not that thick either.
No. I mean, the bolt head's just sticking through the inside of the seat there, you know, with a little tiny washer on it. You go up here. I mean, that's real nice in the back of your neck right there. You know, it's not use a button head or anything. And then it has no back strap on it. You know, it has no back, so the seat's basically in those sliders that are bubble gum welded to that half Mickey Mouse seat bracket. You know, and then if you look here, I mean, the leg braces, I mean, that's, we'll bend that over so we can get it really good. Look at that. I mean, that's high quality right there. I mean, it just don't get no better than that. You know, if the you know, the leg board don't fit, you know, let's just spend a lot more time hacking together some junk, you know, to rivet in there, and you know, let's just not make a new leg board. You know, so I mean, if that was the goal, I mean, they really accomplished that one really well. I mean, I'm really kind of particular on the seats and stuff in these cars, because we actually race ours, and you know, at well over 200 miles an hour, that's just not acceptable to me, even to ride around the street. It's not cool. And then you come back here, this aluminum bracket, I think somebody either broke it or welded it, made this thing, and either ground all the weld off of it or whatever, but it's only 90 thousandths. It really should be 120. The seat belts are wrapped around this mess right here, and they're gonna, your shoulders are not gonna be this high, so this car, to really make it right, needed a bar put in up here to over there. We had to do that to that Harvick car.
Let's go look at that.
Yeah.
So would this be an example of an acceptable way to have your seat belts?
Yeah, we had, when we got this car, it had, you know, it had like this Mickey Mouse seat in it, but we ended up putting this bar in right here, because when we mounted, you know, the seat and everything, and it, you know, there was nowhere to put the seat belts down there, and so we made this bar. But as you can see, our stuff, it's not dragging on anything, you know, it's all where it needs to be. And then you can come down and see the leg braces all fit, you know, it's got all the right bolts, you know, the seat belt bolts, mounts, and all that stuff are all where they belong, you know. And basically you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, NASCAR already, you know, for this time frame, they already dictated how the seats go. Just do it like they say and you'll be fine. It's been proven time and time again that it works. I mean, that's about dry as a bone right there, you know, and been greased and who knows when. You know, these brakes, I mean, there's nothing back here that's, I mean, remotely race ready. And again, they didn't advertise this as race ready. They said it was raced, and I mean, I'm sure it was at some point. I mean, this car was bought to be, you know, kind of stripped down and turned into a show car for a restaurant, for some restaurants. You know, as far as restoring this car, I would never restore this car. I'd scrap it.
Too much work.
It's just too much money. I mean, to do it right. I mean, you can half put it back together and go do parade laps if that's your thing. I mean, if that's your thing, I mean, I can't. That's not what we do here.
If you move up the food chain a little bit, you spend a little more money, and you get a car like this.
Yes.
What do you have to do to it? Or what do you need to look for?
Well, this car sold for $16,000, which really, in closing, again, I think that was fair money for that car. At $16,000, I mean, you're getting a motor. I don't, you know, I think there's a Jericho in it. You know, there's some hard to find parts. You're going to sit on them for a while and have to restore them. Could you make your money back on a little bit, parting it out? Yeah, probably. You know, and then sell the thing as a roller, whatever. You know, let somebody play with it. You could probably make more money on it, parting it out. It's just not worth the amount of money it would cost to actually make a legitimate race car again. But fair deal for parade laps. This car right here was another car that was bought on Bring a Trailer, $35,000. And here we go again with the weird words. 2003 Chevrolet Monte Carlo Cup Series that is said to have been driven to a second place finish by Kevin Harvick. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean,
said to by who?
Right, said by who? You know, like, if you don't know, don't say it. Don't, just because your car's got a radiator in it that you think was at Bristol doesn't mean the car you just bought was driven at Bristol Motor Speedway in 2000. That's absurd. Like, bring some proof to the table, please. You know, because that's how these people get in trouble. You know, stop jerking people around. I'm sure somebody at RCR could look up the numbers on this car, and it would be pretty interesting because it was ran at Bristol, but then they also took it to Charlotte. You know, that's kind of a odd deal that you would take your Bristol car to Charlotte and Atlanta. But I mean, who knows what, you know, they were doing with it. You know, in Texas, I mean, this car has a lot, I mean, for the variety of tracks it ran at, you know, it'd be kind of cool if somebody could tell us where it actually did run, because it is a real Harvick car. So
how can you identify that it is a real RCR Harvick car, other than the graphics on it look like they're
well, again,
proper?
We come over here.
Somebody who's really good can fake proper graphics.
Oh yeah, so it's a Ronnie Hopkins chassis. You know, chassis number over here is RCR 110, and this chassis was built in 10 of 02. RHE's Ronnie Hopkins Engineering. The month and year it was built, which was 10 of 02, and it was the 1288th chassis that RHE built, and it's RCR chassis number 110. So, I mean, in my opinion, we've worked on quite a few RCR cars and a couple of Harvick cars, that this is true and correct, and it's pretty unmolested. And at $35,000, it's a really nice car. This is like the cup quality stuff that guys used to do. You can see where the window, you know, somebody really took a lot of time. Everything's finished. I mean, that was always one of my favorite tricks. If you see the holes in the, you know, the holes in the window braces, you'd put those holes in it with the Rotex punch, and then you would paint the window brace. Well, then you'd get a real nice countersunk, and you'd go up through there so it would be black with, you know, the aluminum, you know, in the countersunk, which is all I always thought was really cool looking. It just really finished it off and gave it a nice finished look, you know. These cowl panels, that's always a tattletale sign as if it's like legit or not. These cowls fit really nice, you know. They got the little hinge in it, you know. Everything's right. Nice, fits along the hood and everything. This is not a road course car, but the majority of this body looks really nice. You know, I would say, I mean, this was probably a pretty good little short track car at some point in its life. You know, and it still has a lot of the neat stuff on it. When we got it, you know, again, a supposedly road course car, which we knew it wasn't, yada, yada, yada. So we get it, and the engine was basically a stock bottom end small block Chevy with SB2 heads on it. So we got tricked on that one.
It was not stated in the listing, was that?
No, it was not stated in that ad. And so we had Jeff Collins, you know, Jeff Collins took and basically rebuilt the whole thing. And this particular block was very difficult to find. I can't remember why, but this was kind of a pain. You know, it was really a pain to get this thing put back together properly.
You couldn't even use the same block?
No, it wasn't even a race block.
Really?
Right, it was some hacked up. It was a mess. The windshield was all fogged up. We had to put a new windshield in it. And then basically we went through everything, like every hubs, went through everything on this car. And then it had like a Muncie 4-speed or show car transmission in it. So we put one of our center shift transmissions in it. We mounted the seat, made new leg boards, redid the fire system. This car actually went land speed racing. So it has a parachute handle in it, which was a lot of fun. They took this car to Arkansas. I know we took it up there a couple years ago for Vance. And I'll bet 10 different people drove it, and they just made laps in this thing, running 200 mile an hour, you know, round and around and around. So, you know, in a standing mile, so which was a lot of fun, and it's a super comfortable car. You know, could we put 6-piston brakes and all that stuff on the front? We could, but they don't drive the car long enough on the racetrack. They'll go out and make 5-10 laps. So why have 6-piston brakes? You know, they're not really racing it. We have brakes and stuff for it, but why put that on there if the, you know, the 4-piston stuff actually works a little better for the pace and what they're doing with it, because they come up to temperature a little quicker and they level off. They can have a good time in a 10-lap run instead of, you know, 10 laps to get a real hard driving to get the brakes hot. Just because somebody tells you to do it, you really need to think, should I do it? That's a lot of money, you know, to put 6-piston brakes on something. Is that modification gonna fit your needs? Are you driving it like Kevin Harvick, where in 6 laps you need 6 piston brakes at Kershaw, or you need 6 piston brakes at Watkins Glen, or something like that? Are you driving the car competitively? You know, are you gonna need 6 piston brakes for making laps at Rockingham? No, you won't. You just won't. So, so there is some stuff out there that actually works really well. I do think we did put the big brakes on the back of this. We have our own special recipe for the road course rear brakes that we put on the back, which helps the front brakes a lot too. Vance paid, I think, $35,000 for this car. By the time we got the engine built, the seat mounted, everything all put back together and go back to the racetrack, we probably put another, I'd say, 40 in it. So this car is sitting right here, I mean, low 80s, give or take, that's in this car, but it's a solid car. You go do whatever you want with it and have a great time. It can be competitive. Would I say this car is a race winner at Indy? No, but you're gonna have a great time and probably run mid-pack. I mean, you have a chance to sneak up back there if them guys have problems in the front. You'll keep up with them. You probably won't get past them. It's not made for that. It's made to be comfortable at a more moderate speed, more grippy at a more moderate speed than it is, an aggressive speed.
It's probably what most people want anyway.
Well, they go out and they have visions of, I'm going to, crawl before you walk, is I think what I look at, because we see it so much. I got to have this, and I got to have that, and I got to have this, and I have that. No. Start here and work your way up. You'll be a lot happier because you'll identify and gain confidence as you go along.
I know people are going to wonder this. Will you save any money by getting a rolling chassis and putting it together yourself, as opposed to buying the most complete car you can and then refreshing its systems like this one was?
I would say for this car, for this year car, up to say the 2005s, 6s, the 2000 to 2005 cars are very difficult to find parts for, because that's when we started using CNC machines and building our own chassis, our own uppers, lowers. It wasn't like, in the 90s where you had Hopkins or Laughlin or Bobby Wellman building cars. And they were all pretty similar stuff. So the parts interchangeability, the more complete car you could buy, the better. The absolute better, but make sure it has the right parts on it, because this next car we're going to talk about was an absolute scam.
We just got the new XP4 bike from Electric E-Bikes. This thing's got some torque. I mean, I weigh 230 pounds and it'll go like womp, womp. It's got a powerful electric motor built right into the hub here. It doesn't take up any more room than a normal bike wheel. You got quick release pedals for easy removal for storage. Fully adjustable shocks in the front. Super powerful headlight. 8-speed gear set to complement the electric motor. It's got a key to activate the electric side of its functionality. Fire it up with the button, it's ready to go. Folds up to be super compact. We can throw this thing in the back of the truck, in the trailer, take it anywhere we want to. Always getting the wiggles.
I got you, 26.
He's been on this thing for 5 seconds and just decided to do a downhill speed run. How fast?
Drives like a beauty. Highly recommended. I found out it has turbo mode on the way up.
Really?
That's past sport mode.
Seriously?
Yeah, there's turbo mode.
He's not even kidding. I thought he was joking.
Then there's sport, then down to tour.
It has blinkers?
Look. Yeah, look at the back.
No way, that is awesome. Yeah, it looks like it does data logs of your ride too.
There you go.
So if you want one of these things, we got a discount code for you. Yeah, we'll go to the link in the description, you can get one.
Why, when I have good friends like you?
Because I only have one of these. Check the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to get your electric e-bike today. What we showed you here is just one. They have several different variants and models for different uses and attachments, and really all kinds of cool stuff on there. Definitely worth checking it out.
This car is an absolute scam, and I'm going to tell you why. This car here came to us through Bring a Trailer. It's $35,000. So in comparison, this car was $35,000. That one was $35,000. That one was $17,000. I actually, if I was going to choose one or the other, I would have sooner paid more for that than what this thing cost.
Really?
It's terrible. Now, oddly enough, I did some research on this car when it got here because it was so terrible. There's a difference between been raced, like that car over there, and it's just old and it's been raced, and that's not somebody being, you know, a hack. That's just, they're racing it. They ran it pretty hard. Little thing, you know, it adds up. The car got put away is what it is. All understandable on that car over there. This car here was pieced together from a hodgepodge of parts, and I know who you are, and I know who did it. This thing here, it says right out of the box, suspension is set up for road course racing. All right, well, let's take a look at that. Let's take a really good look at set up for road course racing.
This will help people understand what that actually means.
Well, I get a lot of calls from people, oh, I gotta have this and I gotta have that. You know, I mean, I built cars that we won Indy with that had a 5 and an 8 degree spindle. You can make that stuff work on a road course. And the majority of these guys aren't good enough to know the difference.
Explain what that is for people who don't know what
it's the different laybacks in the spindle and the different configurations. Like if you're gonna road race, me personally, I know there's better stuff and everybody has choices, caster trail. I just like a set of standard 8 degree spindles. Done. It just seems to work good. It's very compliant. You know, you're not getting into crazy caster camber curves, you know, and all this Ackerman funky stuff with caster trail spindles. For what we're doing, you know, club racing, a standard 8 degree spindle is my go-to. Yeah, if you're out driving that, yeah, we'll go spend $5,000 on a set of caster trail spindles because you can't buy them anymore. They all got scrapped. They're all gone. You know, buying parts for these cars is very difficult because the only series that's really using these is the Xfinity and the trucks, and those guys keep a hold of their stuff. You know, they're pretty tight with their parts anymore. It ain't like what it used to be because they're not getting the trickle down effect from the Cup Series. So, you know, and then the ARCA guys are really hurting because a lot of those parts, those Gen whatever cars, the COT cars that they run, a lot of those parts are gone now too. So there's a big hole, I think, in the parts for the guys that are actually racing the cars. So if they're struggling to get parts, how are you going to get them?
Yeah, it's hard.
It's not like it used to be. And this arm over here is like an 8 3/4 0, and we got like an 1 1/4 spacer in here. She's got a little anti-dive in her and stuff, you know. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting. And then we come over here, and we got an 8 1/2 arm with looks like a quarter back. So we got right out of the box, we got 2 different A-frames on it. So the 8 1/2 would be your, you know, this one here's 8 1/2 would be your length, and a quarterback would be, you know, how far the ball joint's set back. They're a quarter different. You know, why aren't they the same if it's set up for road course racing? This one's like built for a pretty, you know, pretty high droop, which I think almost even a short spindle over here, this A-frame, because it doesn't have much angle in the ball joint. And then this is kind of humped up right here. My guess is that was some, you know, this was made like that so when you went to droop, you'd get the spring out of it, you know, to get more droop in it because of the way wherever that arm, whatever car that arm came off of, or, you know, whatever's going on there.
I didn't know Penske welded sockets to their jack bolts.
Yeah, that's nice. You know, we were going to talk about that. I mean, you know, I mean, that's nuclear quality welding right there. I mean, when I worked on submarines, I mean, they should hire that guy. I mean, I'd send that boat out for sure. So, you know, and then you come up here. I mean, and this car came without even brake pads in the front.
Oh my God.
It doesn't have brake pads.
That's set up for road racing.
It's set up for road racing.
It's set up for road dying.
Right. And these are like very, very old Willwood 6 pistons. I mean, I would date these things mid to late 90s maybe. Maybe somebody out there would know. I mean, I remember when these came around. This is really nice here too. You get there, that's your brake nut, and it's ready to fall off.
That's not even tight.
No, you know, that's nice. And then this here, I mean, that's pretty cool. You know, that can, you know, it'll help keep the tire cool. It'll rub on it. It'll knock those little boot titties off of there, those things, and you'll go faster. I mean, it's just like crap like that. It's like, what are you doing? You know, it doesn't have the pieces, the reducers for the brake ducts. You know, you just keep going around over here. This engine, God knows what it is. You know, it said it was an Evernham, you know, engine, which it has the Evernham deal on it right there. But I mean, as much as this thing is scabbed together, I mean, that could have been pieces from something else. I mean, at this point, you just got to about look at everything, you know. I mean, here's, you know, another deal. The brake lines are just hanging. This one's actually getting preheated by the header, which is kind of cool. And obviously it got painted. You know, they painted the engine bay, you know, because of this, you know, the brake line's half painted. And honestly, I don't ever remember using this springy. I don't think that's something Penske would do. I'm pretty sure no. I mean, obviously you can tell by the air cleaner going across here, it doesn't fit at all. We can even pop that off. I'm sure it's got a really nice carburetor on it. Some Mickey Mouse demon thing, who even knows, you know, is leaking just sitting there. And we got lines all blocked. We got little holes and firewalls. You know, we ain't even got to see how many times this thing's had a clip or something put on it. There's, you know, odd spacers. You know, then you come into this mess. I mean, we got into the wiring on this car, and it was an absolute disaster. There was literally there was, I think, 2 wiring harnesses in this car that were spliced together. 2, like wires just running to run.
How's that even possible? There's barely any wires in these things to begin with.
Oh, it looked like a bomb went off. Well, the other cool thing is this one actually has the, you know, it's for road course racing. It must be like a right turn only road course, or left turn only road course, because it's got a short truck arm on the left side.
Now, can you explain to the people why you don't want that, or why you would want that to turn left and wouldn't want it to turn right?
Well, you run the short truck arm, it helps you out, you know, at the short tracks with your roll steer in the rear end, turning left. That's what that does. It, you know, helps you through the center off. And obviously, this car is not set up for road racing, like not even close. I mean, we go up here, and you know, the seat belts were out of date in 2023. I mean, somebody just kind of, you know, there's the seat bracket. Okay, you know, I mean, that's not terrible to do it like that, but you know, at least clean it up and put a couple bolts after you welded it through there. And this is really cool. It doesn't even have lock nuts on the seat. Let's just put bolts on there. This down here, let's just bolt the seat belt to where the seat bolts to, and then, you know, we'll just put enough washers on that'll float around. Doesn't have any back bar in it. You know, we got a seat mount there. We got it welded to the chassis here. The seat looks like it was put in for a 3-year-old, by a 3-year-old. This car was advertised. It was thrown together with bits and pieces and junk from a scrap pile. And like they didn't even wash it, the inside. It's sad. You know, if you're going to sell it like that, I mean, when you took the dash off, look at the dirt under the dash. This thing's been sitting somewhere for a long time. I mean, at some point it might be really cool to pull this wrap back, maybe see what color it is underneath that wrap. It's just flat black. My guess it's an old D-level Xfinity car. Who knows what this thing is, so let's just make it, you know, try to figure it out, and if you can't, just put your own paint job on it, you know. Flat black. If anybody knows who would have had a flat black Xfinity Challenger, might win you a t-shirt. You know, we got this Rusty Wallace car down here that Rusty took to Goodwood. This was another bring a trailer car. Unfortunately, we wrecked it. And it was a nice car. I think Vance paid $70 for this car.
This car's been on YouTube before. And that guy took it to McDonald's.
I think that's the guy he bought it from.
Yeah.
And they didn't, I mean, when we got it, it didn't need much work. I mean, he was honest. And he said, hey, I haven't started this thing in like 5 years or something. It was something, you know, he was very honest. This car here, we built this car from absolute scratch. We built the chassis. This is not an old Xfinity chassis that's stretched and all that nonsense. We built this car from scratch. It's shiny, it's nice, all the wheels and tires are on it. It's not race ready. It's like this car's been sitting for quite a while. Every few months we'll come around with a big wrench, spin the motor over a little bit, spin the oil up just to move some stuff around. Everything on this car, if I was gonna get in it and drive it, I'd say we have probably a week of work to do to it. Probably a solid, 2 guys, probably a solid week before we run it.
If you were to get it and go 200 something miles an hour and trust your life with it.
Yeah, I know the seat belts are out of date. I mean, we got the ignition box out of it because we used it in my modified or something. I don't know. I'm cheap like that. I know we weren't going to be running the car for a while. I'd really want to bring the motor back to life real carefully. We'd go through all the hubs. Definitely go through all the hubs. Even if a car is sitting still, we still try to go just move it a little bit so it's not flat spotting bearings. And the tires, nobody cares because they're junk anyway. And once you're done, we put new tires on them all the time anyway. But we always just kind of move them around a little bit just so all the grease don't run, get hard. And all you gotta do is just roll it back and forth a little bit, or jack it up, spin the tire. This car I did build for road racing. And then you can kind of see the setup that I have on my car here. It's a caster trail. This is a caster trail spindle. So it's actually, I believe it's an RCR spindle, road course spindle. 6 piston brakes. That's an RCR piece right there, the center link. So all this stuff on the front of this car is all RCR. The lower control arms are Wellman's, and then the upper ones we made once we decided where we were going to put everything.
I'm totally going to derail this conversation, but I have to. It has a red chassis. Is this a Dale Earnhardt car?
It could be a Dale car. That's one of my favorite things to see on the internet. It might be a Dale car. I do say that a lot. But, it's like, man, these people, some of them get these cars. Oh, I found red paint on my car, and I've seen it. We've all seen it. Oh, it could be a Dale car. And then that's where this all starts. Do your research first and call people that know. There's a ton of people that, aren't hard to find that would be happy to help you. That's how these ridiculous stories get started about some of these cars, and then the story keeps growing and growing and growing, and there's some out there right now, it's the same way. The story just keeps growing and growing and growing. And, just be honest. Don't make the poor guy think he just found a, whatever car in a barn that you didn't know about, for years and years. I've only ever found one of those in my life. One. And that was that Danny Sullivan car that I had that was straight up off the racetrack from 1994 Brickyard 400. Now, I had no motor transmission, but the whole story was really cool. You can kind of look it up with Danny Sullivan, the Brickyard 400.
We did a video about that car.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I had that car. I had the car, and people, I want to buy it. Okay, what are you going to do with it? Well, I want to make it into a Days of Thunder car. No, I'm not selling it to you. And finally, that fella up in Indy there, he goes, I got to have this car, and I want to keep it and just like it was. And I thought it was... It's not a Dale Earnhardt car. It has no viable history whatsoever other than that was Danny Sullivan's car as it came off the racetrack in 1994 at the Brickyard 400, which, whatever. It's cool, but it's not like Dale Earnhardt cool or, something cool. But it's still a cool bargain find.
It's cool for somebody from Indy.
Right, and that's where he was from, and I was really glad that car went to the right hands, and he enjoys it, and, Danny Sullivan's seen the car since, and it's really neat. That was my one. It might be a Dale car story. So we back to this, and actually you can see the master cylinder's already started leaking down there just from sitting.
Wow.
Yeah, I just noticed that. We got to get that fixed.
Is there salt in there from your feet?
Here's the deal on salt. You can wash and wash and wash and wash these things, and you think you got every bit of it. Well, salt will actually it actually grows. So when you get back here with the humidity, there was probably a piece of salt there, and it just grew. It grew, revitalized itself. It's bizarre. It needs a lot more than I thought. I'm glad we had the opportunity to do this because it probably needs to stay on Jack's hands and get worked on a little bit. I guess in closing, you know, kind of, if you want to go make parade laps and have something in your garage to start and go vroom vroom when you're having friends, you know, beer and stuff with your friends. I mean, this little car right here is not a bad car. At 17,000 bucks, you could spend a little bit of time and money. Over time, if you spent and did the work yourself, if you spent another 15 grand on that car, you'd have a fun car that you could go actually do some track days. You could have fun with it and do parade laps and do some casual hobby track days with. So figure, and that's you doing the work yourself. I would figure all in, including the price of that car, 30, 35 if you had the capabilities on your own to work on stuff.
And the engine didn't need to be gone through, or was that with going through?
We actually fired that motor. It doesn't sound bad. I mean, I'd run it until it didn't run no more. I don't think I'd spend money to try to fix it. It's nothing special.
And if you are going to get a car in the garage to start for your buddies, you still have to heat the oil and prime it and
That's
stuff.
Such a roach. I wouldn't waste. It's so rattly.
Well, if you're going to get an engine for a car to do that, you shouldn't get a dry sump one because you just want it to start and make noise.
Yeah. So, I mean, that car right there could be a really fun car with, you know, doing the work yourself, a little bit more money. I mean, us doing the work, I don't think it'd be a really good value. Other than, you know, what the car was bought for is to be stripped and used, you know, made into a show car thing. Somebody that has capabilities to do stuff at home, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That car would be a lot of fun, all in for $35,000, $30,000 or less. You know, this car was $35,000. And again, we probably put another 35 or 40 in it. You know, I mean, getting an SB2 engine rebuilt, I think that was 15 all on its own, you know, just to get that sorted out. So, you know, so I'd say that, I don't know the number, but I'd say at least 40 that went into this car. So he's got 80 in this car, but it's a solid piece. It'd be a mid-pack car at SBRA. You know, it ain't gonna run up front. It'd need a little bit more, and this car wasn't built for that. You know, 60 to 80, you got a solid car you're gonna have a good time with, be competitive in some vintage racing, and a really solid track day. So I mean, obviously we can all see the differences after we talked about all that.
If you wanted to be a front running guy, how much does that cost?
All of it.
So you have to build a car, because the guys at the front of there, they're running cars that are like, they don't fit templates, they got all kinds of wacky stuff in them. They're not this. This is like
this would be a real good example of what a vintage NASCAR class should be.
I agree.
Is it what it is? No, because we've built specific built cars that won those SBRA races, and they are so far removed from what NASCAR stuff is, it's not even funny. And I know the ones running up front are the same because we ran with them. You know, so but this is a really good example of a period correct, super solid car. You know, I'd go with that. That car over there, if you wanted a really cool barbecue pit in your backyard, you could cut the roof off of it and fill it with firewood. Maybe invite the people over that built it and, you know, have a few beers with them. Talk about how they're going to pay your money back. That car basically needs to be stripped, in my opinion, to do it right, to the bare chassis, blasted, and completely rebuilt from the ground up. For some reason, stock cars and easy to work on seem to go, you know, with these vintage guys, you know, oh, it's a stock car, how hard can it be to work on? Obviously, it's pretty hard because we've had some cars come through here one in the last couple of weeks that was race ready, and the rear hubs were blowed out of it, the brakes were junk. I mean, oil lines burned in half, literally burned in half. I mean, I felt really bad for the guy. So when we go and we've talked a lot about a lot of negative things today. The only way that I know those negative things is I've done them all myself. You know, I've done this. I've either seen the problem created or I created the problem myself. And that's the thing you got to think about when you're buttoning up your race car. Right before you put it in a trailer, is it good enough or is it right? Sometimes good enough won't get you across the finish line. And that's kind of the way I look at things. And we're learning every single day. I mean, we have things that go wrong here. You know, we've had some issues, you know, this, that, and the other. And we're always trying to make that better. I don't want everybody to think that all the problems we talk about, the only reason I recognize them is because I've done it myself. bottom line. So, you know, or been part of a team that has done it. You know, seen a lot of stuff over the years. So, you know, keep that in mind. You want good enough, or you want it to get you across the finish line? That's the two thoughts you got to have in your head when you do this stuff where you go to the track.
And nobody comes out of the womb knowing everything.
No.
Either.
I mean, I was just fortunate enough to be around a lot of smart people and mess up a lot of stuff on my own, and see a lot of people mess stuff up, and you know, and that stuff, it sticks with you because it's embarrassing. You know, it's embarrassing when you have. To me, it's tragic. You know, when we have failures. I'm sure these guys here can tell you about some discussions we had that might have fit right in with like a Ray Abraham discussion. It was one-sided.
What do you think would be the best course of action for somebody who does not live here or around here, that doesn't have access to people who do know the right way to do things necessarily in their general area?
Here's a really good thought, and you know, we bounced around some stuff, you know, for like the fall. You know, when like SVRA is down at Charlotte or something, you know, when they do the races down there, it is having an open house where we actually take a car and do a nut and bolt on it, and you know, we can give. I mean, I'd be happy to share our nut and bolt list with people, you know, our checklists and stuff like that, and kind of go over the things that we see, because at that, you know, at that SVRA level, I see a lot of the same stuff. They forget to put a hole in the transmission. They don't safety wire. You know, they won't safety wire their bump steer slugs. They don't safety wire the rear gear stuff. You know, and that stuff gets hot and cold so quick, you know, in them short races. Next thing you know, the old drain plugs out on a racetrack, track's old down. 30 guys that spent a ton of money to get there can't continue the race because you were too lazy to safety wire your rear end drain plug. You know, and a phone call is always free. If you have a question, I'm not telling you I got the answer, but I know a lot of people that might have the answer, and I'll do everything I can to get you to the right person, or if I have an answer, I'll hopefully lead you the right way. Advice is always free.
You're gonna get a lot of phone calls.
That's all right.
And
you know,
fair warning, he's nicer when the camera's on than when it's off. So just be prepared.
So, I mean, it's fair. I mean, I've been in, you know, this position with my cars, and if we can help people out, I mean, I'm more than happy to. And, you know, I say we have a pretty big supply of parts. They ain't free and they ain't cheap, and they never will be. I've drugged this stuff around for 25 years.